Hello, cinema lovers. Welcome back to Rogue Cinema. Bollywood history is filled with actresses who gradually climbed the ladder through years of consistent work and perpetually appearing in big banner projects, who know how to present their leading ladies. But every once in a while, a struggling actress arrived at a defining crossroads where a single film, not necessarily because of its story, but because of its music, cultural impact, and a perfectly timed star making performance, completely altered the trajectory of her career.
Take Madhuri Dixit. Before Tezaab, she was just another struggling actress trying to find her footing in the industry. Then came Ek Do Teen, a song from Tezaab that didn't merely become a chartbuster, it turned Madhuri into a national phenomenon. Suddenly, she wasn't chasing stardom anymore. Stardom was chasing her. A few years later, Raveena Tandon experienced a similar transformation. Despite appearing in several films, she had yet to establish herself among the industry's elite. Then Mohra arrived, and with it come the cultural explosion of Tu Cheez Badi Hai Mast Mast and Tip Tip Barsa Pani. Overnight, Raveena became one of the most sought after stars of the 90s. Even Katrina Kaif, despite her breathtaking beauty, whose early career was often overshadowed by criticism of her acting abilities, found a turning point with Namaste London. The film showcased a charisma and screen presence that audience hadn't fully embraced before, changing the industry perception of her almost instantly. One of the last examples, however, is Deepika Padukone. Despite a dream debut with Om Shanti Om, the years that followed were marked by questions about her acting range. Films came and went, but the critical consensus remained largely unchanged. For several years, she was often criticized for limited emotional range and inconsistent performances. Films like Kartik Calling Kartik, Break Ke Baad, and Desi Boys didn't significantly change that perception. Then came Cocktail. Indian filmmakers heavily copied the styling and characterization of Veronica from the archetype popularized by British model and fashion icon Kate Moss and the London party girl aesthetics that dominated Western pop culture in the late 2000s. Her bohemian outfits, messy hair, leather jackets, short dresses, reckless nightlife, and emotionally damaged free spirit persona echoed that era's fashion and celebrity culture. The influence wasn't a direct biographical adaptation, but the visual language and attitude clearly reflected that Western it girl archetype. Long before social media made global celebrity culture instantly accessible, much of India's young audience wasn't deeply familiar with the rebellion fashion sensibilities of figures like Kate Moss or the larger than life confidence associated with Western pop culture icons such as Jennifer Lopez. Yet Veronica copied element of that world, the carefree party girl, the emotional wounded free spirit, the woman who appeared fearless on the surface while carrying deep insecurities underneath. Her fashion, attitude, independence, and vulnerability felt refreshingly different from the conventional Indian heroines of that time. Cocktail convinced filmmakers that a reasonably good actress like Deepika could carry emotionally demanding material. Within a year, she was cast in Goliyon Ki Ras Leela Ram Leela, followed by Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, Chennai Express, Piku, Bajirao Mastani, and Padmavat. Her career effectively splits into two phases, pre-cocktail and post-cocktail. Which brings us to Kriti Sanon, and this week's release, Cocktail Part 2. Much like Deepika before Cocktail, Kriti has spent over a decade in the industry delivering a mix of commercial success and respectable performances without even finding that one defining pop culture character. While Mimi proved she possesses for greater acting ability than many initially given her credit for, it didn't create the kind of cultural phenomena that permanently alters an actor's star image. This is precisely what makes Cocktail 2 such a fascinating project. If the film manages to create a character with even a fraction of Veronica's cultural impact, a role that is fashionable, emotionally layered, aspirational, and endlessly quotable, it could become the moment that redefines how the audience see Kriti Sanon. The challenge, however, is enormous. Veronica was a product of the world, where Indian audience wasn't deeply familiar with international icons and the world of Instagram was just growing. If Cocktail 2 want to replicate the magic of the original, Kriti won't just need a good performance. She will need a role that reshape her entire career narrative. Before proceeding further, we would appreciate your help and love by subscribing the channel and sharing this video with your friends and family. Today, with the release of Cocktail 2, we revisited a title that holds a special place in the modern Bollywood history, the first film of 2010s that gave audience romance, heartbreak, chartbuster music, and most importantly, a star-making performance that changed the industry narrative around Deepika Padukone forever. Let's find out the vital overview. Direction. Coming to the direction, Homi Adajania largely sticks to the same filmmaking template that made the first Cocktail so popular. The film carries his signature breeze style, glossy visual, and relationship-driven storytelling. However, in 2026, audience have been exposed to far more sophisticated and layered storytelling, so merely recreating the old magic doesn't feel quite enough. The biggest issue lies in the screenplay's foundation. While the core premise has potential, the film doesn't spend enough time organically developing its character dynamics before shifting the narrative to Sicily. As a result, several emotional beats arrive before the relationships have fully earned them. What's particularly surprising is that despite a runtime of nearly 150 minutes, the middle portion feels underutilized. There were opportunities to deepen the conflicts, strengthen the emotional stakes, and explore the characters in greater details, but the film often settled for surface level progression. This becomes even more evident in the final act, which feels noticeably rushed. Major emotional developments and resolutions arrived in quick succession, giving the impression that the film is hurrying toward its destination rather than allowing its most important moment to breathe. Homi Adajania delivered a watchable and occasionally engaging romantic drama, but the direction never elevates the material beyond what audience have already seen. Acting. Rashmika Mandanna delivered a serviceable performance. Though the role doesn't particularly challenge her, she largely operates within a familiar comfort zone that audience have seen in several of his previous films. While some of her mannerism and dialogue delivery may not work for everyone, she settles into the role more comfortably as the film progresses and is noticeably better in the later half. Shahid Kapoor once again proves why he is one of the most dependable actors in mediocre emotional screenplays. He carries a significant portion of second half on his shoulder, where the drama intensifies and delivers the emotional scenes with sincerity and conviction. Even when the writing falls short, Shahid manages to keep the audience invested in his journey. Kriti Sanon is arguably the film's biggest strength in first half. She looks absolutely stunning throughout. Her styling and costumes perfectly complements the character. The film is fully aware of her glamour appeal and use it extensively. But to Kriti's credit, she doesn't rely on that alone. She injects energy, confidence and personality into a character that could have easily felt one-dimensional. In many ways, she adds more life to the film's weaker stretches than the screenplay itself does. The only limitation is that the character archetype she plays felt far more refreshing and disruptive for Indian audience back in 2012 than it does now. One aspect that genuinely surprised me was the absence of strong supporting characters. The original Cocktail benefited enormously from actors like Dimple Kapadia, Boman Irani and Randeep Hooda, whose performances add warmth, humor and emotional depth to the narrative. This sequel lacks that kind of supportive cast presence, making the world feel comparatively thinner and placing almost the entire burden on the lead trio. Script, screenplay, editing. Talking about the script and screenplay, the core love triangle concept does attempt to bring a fresh perspective to a familiar genre. To the film's credit, there are few genuinely clever moments and character interaction that hint at a more nuanced relationship drama beneath the surface. However, the screenplay often feels like a collection of ideas that never fully come together. The film constantly oscillates between romance, comedy, emotional drama and glamour-driven moments without always finding a smooth rhythm. There are stretches where the narrative seems unsure of what it wants to prioritize, resulting in an uneven viewing experience. The biggest issue, surprisingly, lies in the editing. Several scenes are cut in noticeably abrupt manners, disrupting the natural flow of conversation and emotional beats. Instead of allowing moments to breathe, the film frequently jumps between shots and reactions, creating a sense of fragmentation. This is particularly evident in Kriti Sanon's portions. While her screen presence is undoubtedly one of the film's biggest assets, the editing often feels more interested in highlighting her glamour than enhancing the dramatic impact of the scenes themselves. Humorous sequences are filled with quick glamour-centric cuts and visual emphasis that occasionally distract from the storytelling rather than strengthening it. Dialogues. Coming to the dialogues, the writing team does a fairly commendable job overall. Interestingly, some of the film's strongest conversation moments arrive in the first half, where the narrative itself is relatively weaker. The banter, character exchange, and relationship discussion often add a layer of engagement that the plot alone isn't always able to provide. What's unusual is that the film's dialogue writing feels more effective during the lighter, set-up heavy portions than during the emotional charged second half. In a romantic drama, you would typically expect the most memorable line to emerge when emotions peak, but here the opposite happens. While the second half has the biggest dramatic moments, the dialogue doesn't always rise to the occasion with the same consistency. As a result, the film's early portion often feels sharper and more conversationally engaging than some of the heavier emotional scene that follows. It's not a major flaw, but it's a curious imbalance in a genre that usually thrives on powerful emotional exchanges. Technical work, sound and cinematography. The music works in parts. A couple of songs are genuinely catchy and stay with you after the credit roll, while the background score does the job without drawing too much attention to itself. However, comparisons with the originals are inevitable. The first film had a soundtrack that became a cultural phenomenon with almost every track leaving a lasting impact. This sequel has a few winners, but it never reaches those heights. The cinematography is solid throughout, capturing both the glamour and emotional mood of the story effectively. The production values are polished, and the film certainly looks expensive on screen. Sicily, in particularly, is photographed beautifully and adds considerable visual charm to the narrative. That said, the real MVP of the technical department is the costume design. Every principal character is styled with remarkable attention to detail, and the wardrobe choice do an excellent job of reflecting personality, status, and emotional progression. Kriti Sanon's costume especially stand out, consistently enhancing her screen presence and becoming an integral part of the film's visual identity. As for its overall impact, Cocktail 2 is likely to remain a divisive film among audiences. Early reactions on social media have already been quite polarizing, with some viewers appreciating its glossy presentation, performance, and relationship drama, while others have criticized its familiar storytelling and uneven execution. That said, the film may still find a receptive audience. In a year where many romantic dramas have struggled to leave a lasting impression, Cocktail 2 offers enough star power, glamour, music, and emotional conflict to stand out from the crowd. It provides reasonably entertaining theatrical experience for viewers looking for a modern mainstream romance. Altogether, Cocktail 2 largely follows the same blueprint as its predecessor, offering a familiar mix of romance, friendship, and heartbreak. While the performances, particularly in the first half, are slightly stronger, the soundtrack falls noticeably short of the benchmark set by the original. Even so, the film remains an easy watch, helped considerably by Kriti Sanon's captive screen presence, who absolutely lights up the screen, especially during the first half. Overall, we give Cocktail to 67% and congratulate Kriti Sanon for delivering one of the film's strongest performances, bringing charm, confidence, and undeniable screen presence to a character that could have easily felt ordinary on power, and Sanon was no lesser than Padukone any given day. Grace us with your views in comment section and please support us by liking the video. And if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, you're probably never going to see us again. And if you have, or you're going to, then you're welcome to the Rogue Cinema family. See you soon.